know that I love darts, right? But is a dart always a triangle? No, the answer is no. A dart is not always a triangle. Sometimes it's a rectangle. Okay, if you don't know what I'm talking about, come on, let's dive in. Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Trisha. I'm your pattern nerd friend. I'm the owner of Creative Costume Academy. Today we're going to talk about how darts can be triangles and sometimes they can be rectangles. I love this because it's all about the dart in my world. It is like the most powerful little thing when we're talking about pattern making, when we're talking about fitting and making garments really hug us where we want to be hugged, right? But they don't always show up as a triangle. Sometimes they look like a rectangle. So if this is like, what are you talking about, Trish? Don't worry, we're gonna dive into it. It's really not that complicated. I'm gonna show you, we're gonna do visual examples, the whole 9 yards. Because the more you understand about the dart, and I truly believe this, if you're new here, you'll learn that the more you know about the dart, the stronger you're going to be as a pattern maker, as a sewist, stitcher, and learning how to fit clothes perfectly to you. We should understand that the dart can shapeshift. It can be a triangle, it can be a rectangle, it can be seams, it can be gathers, it can be pleats. If you want to learn more on that, check out last week's video. Let's talk about it being a rectangle and what I mean by that. I feel it's important. If you like this kind of thing, talking about sewing, talking about pattern making, learning how to make fitting easy and fun, really grab hold of that superpower, please hit the subscribe button. I'm really trying to grow this channel so that I can offer you more of this good stuff. Turn on those notifications so you know when new videos drop. We usually drop one once a week and we do a live once a month if we can. So most of the time when we're talking about a dart, people visualize this, which is typically a dart. Now, the reason that I am so obsessed with darts, where I really feel like they have all the power, is because understanding them allows you to open so many more doors to design and to fitting and to everything else. Even especially, I think my most unique take on how darts can help us and how that understanding can really help us is when you're doing a fitting. Fitting is probably the number one thing that I hear from students, from clients that they struggle with, that they're just not sure how to get what they're trying to get and they feel lost at times. Does it sound like you? It's okay, you are of the majority, don't you worry. And just for a little background, I have been in a lifelong career, over 20 years at this point, making costumes for big theatrical productions. That is my first business, and that is where most of my knowledge comes from. I have been in countless fittings on many different types of bodies of all shapes and sizes, put into all different kinds of shapes and sizes regarding their costumes, and also normal clothes on top of that. Fitting doesn't scare me anymore at this point because of my knowledge that I have in pattern making, specifically the dart. And when I try to explain to students when they're feeling frustrated, I really want to distill it down to really make it as simple as possible because I really feel that it can be. And I thought back to how I processed doing a fitting and what it helped me when I was first learning, because of course I learned all of this by just being there, being in the room while it was happening, and just lots of exposure and experience with it. And I'm still learning all the time. There's nothing to say that I know everything there is to know. My thought process is when I'm doing a fitting, I am looking for, can I add a dart to make it fit better, or can I take a dart away? When you get down to it, that's the bare bones question that is in my head. You're looking at wrinkles, and when the wrinkles tell you, you listen to what the wrinkles tell you, and it's telling me, do I need to take a dart up here? Do I need to add a dart there? How do I resolve the wrinkles? Where you add the dart is what the wrinkles are telling you. So there's more to it than that, but honestly, that's how I kind of distill it down for fitting. So in any case, just as a pattern making standpoint, this is Susie. If you haven't met her yet, isn't she lovely? She has a large custom made wardrobe for her. If you don't already know her, you'll get to know her. But she's wearing a bodice with some gathering. That is one of our basic exercises that we do in my foundational courses in Pattern Making Academy, and also that I have my students do in the Pattern Place as part of Pattern Making 101. It is when we learn about, okay, after we've moved a dart around a little bit, what happens when I want to add more than what is already included in my basic pattern and I want to add more to gather. What we do is we add darts in a way, but we add extra space. And what that pattern actually looks like that she's wearing is I've added this extra space so that this can be gathered and then sewn into the darts. These are not darts. These are rectangles, right? I'm adding in space evenly because this is called equal added fullness. Now, if I was to do one side added fullness, hold on a sec, it would look like this. What do those look like? Sure look like darts to me. We don't sew all these little darts or else we would end up with a bunch of darts. That's a look. You could choose to do that. Here's what it looks like on Miss Susie when it's all sewn up, where we have gathers that go into the front and it is not gathered here at the side seam. We call this one-sided added fullness. We won't get into too much of that. That gets into a lot of pattern making theory, but I just wanted to show you, like, I added extra space by adding a dart to give it enough room to gather. And those look like triangles, like darts. But for the equal added fullness, I added rectangles. That's just, I don't know, it's just something to think about. So that's in an example of pattern making. Like, I would be adding those darts to give that extra gather. So if I wanted to reverse engineer that and take that pattern and go, you know what? I don't really want all that fullness. I don't really want gather in my pattern like that. Then you would be taking darts away to change that design. Going back to the pattern, now that only works in a pattern standpoint, not so much a fitting with a finished garment already. But let's look at what that looks like. This is a shirt that I bought. It's actually a baby's shirt, but it's great for me to be able to show you how I would use darts in a fitting. It's obviously a little bit bigger than I would want for her. There's a couple different options here if I was doing a fitting. I could put some darts in the back, right? Some darts or pleats in the back and do like a fisheye situation. I could take it in on the sides as a triangle. So if I was gonna do this as a regular dart, a regular triangular dart, let me mark out with pins what that would look like and why I say it's a dart. If I wanted to take this in, let's assume that the chest on her fit well. It doesn't, but let's assume that it did. If you ran into that kind of situation, you really just needed to take it in at the waist or in the hips, and you wanted to leave the sleeve. You didn't want to get into the sleeve alterations. So if you looked at the side, I've kind of pinned outline a dart, right? Here's the fat part of our dart. Here's the skinny part of our dart. If I brought these two things together and sewed them that way, let me just pin it that way and see what it would look like. So I've brought those two legs of the dart together and pulled it in. And do we see how it's already starting to fit her closer? So that would be a regular triangle dart. I would take that away. Now, if this shirt was too tight, I could add a dart in. Although if you're doing that with an existing garment, you're gonna have to get creative and make it look like it was always there, which is, you know, it's what you do. You get creative. That was meant to be that way. I turned it into a feature. Now that's if you're taking a regular dart out, but what if you were going to completely upcycle this whole thing? You were gonna take the sleeves off, you're gonna maybe turn it into a halter, whatever. You're gonna get creative. You're gonna make this something completely new, and you wanna take in the whole body a lot more. You're not worried about the sleeves because you're cutting them off. Let's just say all of this is theoretical. This is why it's so hard to teach fitting, because every single garment, every single person is a different scenario. If we just think about darts, it can help us a lot. If I were to take this all the way, and this sleeve is not gonna be an issue, I'm going to put it away. Okay, so we can see like her body is here and this is where it is. So if I wanted to take this all the way in, if I did my regular dart and matched this other side, it would still be really roomy here and could quite gap and maybe see more than you wanted to see. So this is where I would do a rectangle dart. So, and what I mean by that is if I just go the same distance all the way down along the side seam, that would be basically taking in a rectangle. But By taking it in as a rectangle, now it's completely not gonna be too big here, whereas it kind of still left that room here because I needed it. That's what I'm saying about sometimes your dart can be a rectangle. And I still stand by that when I'm doing a fitting, it's, do I need to add a dart or take a dart away to get to the desired outcome that I'm looking for? I know that was kind of a little conceptual. Hopefully you picked up what I'm putting down. We are communicating. You'll learn if you're new here that I love talking about darts. Honestly, we could talk about darts all day, how they work and what we can do with them and the power of the almighty darts. But we'll save it for another video because you know I'll be talking about them in some other way. But this time, we're seeing them as rectangles. I hope you can see that with me, understand how to use that going forward, doing your fittings or your pattern adjusting as you go into this pattern sewing journey that we all love so much. If you are interested in learning more about pattern making, this wet, you're whistling, you're like, what is this one-sided fullness? Equal-sided fullness. I want to learn more about that. I want to learn more about the power of the dart. I would say the best place to start is to check out my free pattern masterclass. That link is down below. You can learn more about my teaching style, how I teach pattern making a little bit differently, and see if it's for you. And if it is, then there'll be steps to follow if you want to go deeper down this rabbit hole with me. But for today, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.